guest in a second, but this is our second year doing this, learning about Jewish life on college campuses. I think it is important. I mean, it's self-evidently important from reading the news, but I want to say why it's important to me personally. I am a rabbi. I could say I am a rabbi today because of my experience in Hillel on campus at Tulane University. But we at Temple B'nai Or try to give our kids in our high school program a great foundation of Jewish life as an adult. We all know that, leading up to B'nai Mitzvah is kid stuff. And really learning to be a Jew is what happens when you're older. But when kids go off to college, when young adults go off to college, get involved in Jewish community there, that sets the foundation of who they are as a Jew for the rest of their life. And I think Hillel is really the most important organization in the Jewish world because of that. And so we'll learn about Hillel a little bit later. My colleague, Rabbi Josh Lobel, is here from the Rutgers Hillel. He is the what's your title? Reform Community Educator. Rutgers is a special campus that it has a dedicated position for Reform Judaism on campus. Is there any other place like that? Brandeis. So we'll learn from him soon. We're going to learn from our students who are off in college now. But I want to start with a thank you. Thank you to Nicole Berman, who's really the driving force behind this program last year and this year. So I want to hand it off to her.
I just wanted to make two quick plugs for two programs we have here. One is our College Connections program, which is where when you guys go to college, hopefully your parents will sign you up and you'll get some messages, some little gifts. It's just a way for us at TBO to stay connected, and hopefully you guys are all enjoying that part of your college experience. And then the second is a group called Kulanu, which is the Anti-Defamation League has a program where different synagogues can join, and it's a program to fight anti-Semitism and what we can do as a synagogue to do that. And this is one of our programs that are under kind of the umbrella of Kulanu, where we're helping to share what we know, what works, what doesn't work as far as anti-Semitism on college campuses. And so we're just this is the first event. We're looking to do another event. We have a bunch of people here that are already on that, but if you're interested, feel free to reach out. And I'm going to turn it over to the lovely Sky Monroe.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sky. I'm just moderating this lovely group this evening, and we'll start with some introductions. And panelists, if you could please just share your name, your school, the year you are, your major if you have one, if you care to share, your hometown, and the number of years you've been at TBO. Ethan, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Ethan Kathavali. I am a freshman at Duke University. I'm thinking about studying computer science from Madison, and I was here from kindergarten through my bar mitzvah in 7th grade, or maybe pre-K actually, and then I worked on the tech team for 2.5 years during high school.
Hi, my name is Helena. I'm a senior at Cornell University, and I have been at TBO basically since preschool, I think even before that, and I was also OREEM, so I did the program till I graduated high school, and I'm studying biochemistry.
Hello, I'm Kate. I'm a first year at Emory University studying history, and I've been at TBO since kindergarten.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm from Chatham, New Jersey. Why did I say New Jersey? Sorry, no, like a lot of people, when you're in California, University of Southern California, studying international relations, and I've been at Temple B'nai Or since kindergarten.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I've been here since I was 2, whenever preschool started. and I'm a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania studying biology and maybe a minor in anthropology.
Rabbi Josh Lobel. I'm the Reformed Community Educator at Rutgers from Queens, New York originally. Boston University, class of 2002, where I majored in, you'll be shocked, religious studies. And then HUC at 2007.
All right, so we'll get some questions going. Jordan, we'll start with you. The first question we're going to have the panelists respond to is with regard to their experience with anti-Semitism. So have you experienced any anti-Semitism on campus or seen any pro-Hamas events on campus? Just tell us what's been going on for you.
So I personally have not experienced any like anti-Semitism directed towards me, but I am aware of like there's been some cases of like graffiti or vandalism, especially like last fall. There really hasn't been much in like 2024, but last like towards the end of 2023, there was, I think, someone like spray painted a swastika somewhere. Someone vandalized the Hillel. There was, there was some like, I think someone made like graffiti on some of the signs, and so like stuff like that. But the school was always like very like condemnatory towards anything that was anti-Semitic. Like they wanted to make it clear that that wasn't like allowed.
Yeah, so in the one semester I've been at USC, the only incidents were very isolated and not directed towards me at all. The first one was in the beginning of the year. So USC is gated off, and that really helped with like no outside people coming in and camping. But there was one protest that Hillel was fortunate enough to know about like a week in advance. So they like were trying to tell like the Jewish students that it was going to be there before it was. And it wasn't violent in any way. They were very loud in the center of campus. It was just a protest, really. And I went and watched, and that was really the extent of it. But it was just another regular school day for me. And then the second incident was we were conducting a memorial in the center of campus on October 7th. And there was one part during the service where multiple kids just started screaming like anti-Israel, anti-Semitic remarks at the Jewish students, and yeah.
How did the school respond when that happened?
They made a statement regarding all of it, but we're fortunate enough that, again, everything's gated off, and our president is Jewish, so she was very aware of everything going on, and she purposely gated off every marked entryway, so you have to scan into campus, and it's really easy to scan into campus. It's really no extra hassle, so that was really nice.
So you felt safe?
Yes, definitely.
Just for a bit of context, Emory's in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a swing state. So I feel like a lot of the anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian sentiment was very politically charged on campus, just because the political environment on campus was very hectic during this election season, because Emory is very left-leaning and Georgia is very right-leaning. And not to get super political, but I mean, Israel and Palestine played a huge role in this election. So I feel like there's a lot of people on campus that I've had conversations with that you'll find didn't exactly have, like, they weren't anti-Semitic, they weren't even anti-Israel, they were either just misinformed or they just kind of were following what they believe because of maybe certain politicians or friends or local politics kind of they believed certain things, and then they also had this belief, so they're like, sure. And it's just about having those conversations and being like, you can have that nuance. And again, like, there was like, I think I don't know about all these, I know definitely at Penn and probably all these campuses, but Emory had encampments and definitely more intense instances last year that I was fortunate enough to not see for myself. And I think there was just a lot of fear from the Jewish students that would kind of continue on this year, and luckily enough, it did not. And I think that was a big relief, because while there is an SJP, or Students for Justice in Palestine, at Emory, it's not a big community and it's not that powerful. I remember one time they were having a protest on the quad, and I was in the library, and someone comes in and they were like, oh my gosh, you're not gonna believe this. And I was like, what? Like, you don't even realize sometimes that they're having these protests or these rallies. And I saw the videos, and there was maybe 50 people there on a campus of 6,000 undergrads. So while it is present and it is something to be aware of, it's definitely not something that is overarching, and I'm walking around campus like, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna know that I support Israel, and everyone's going to hate me for it. So I think that's just been a huge relief for me on campus, knowing that I can be safe and that I have this big supportive Jewish community. Because while the question was more focused on the negative side, I could go on and on about the positive side of how great my school's been in terms of Judaism. But yeah, nothing huge or crazy, luckily.
So you haven't felt like the need to sort of, do you feel that you are openly able to share your beliefs and your Jewish identity?
Yeah, I think the only difference between, I guess, pre-October 7th and now is that I feel the need to explain it more. I remember one time I was in the library and I mentioned, I forget how it came up, I mentioned being a Zionist, and my friend had this, not a negative reaction, but she was kind of like a what? Like, you're a Zionist? Like, as if I had said, like, something, just, I don't know, like, she just was so confused by that. And I kind of had to go in and, like, give her a brief history and explain what it meant, and explain that what she might think the modern definition isn't the true definition, and how just, like, people think that it's, like, black and white, but at the end of the day, it's just, like, a belief that Israel has the right to exist, and, like, blah, 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 and, like, how it doesn't mean I want all these people to die. Like, I just had to, like, over and over explain myself, and I kind of did it loudly, so if other people were hearing me at the library, they didn't think I was thinking all these bad things, and I feel like that instance has happened many times because you don't want people to kind of think this about you, and that can get kind of annoying, and that can feel a little daunting, especially with the non-Jewish presence, feeling like you have to explain yourself, because while Emory has a great Jewish community, it also has a community of people where I'm the first Jewish person they've ever met, and suddenly you feel like you have to represent everyone, which I know is something that you guys can probably all relate to. I remember there was an instance where a girl posted something like, it smells like pennies on the quad, with a photo of people with an Israel flag, and immediately all the Jewish people rallied together and they sent, like, all these complaints, and she lost her position as an RA, and the Student Government Association sent an email to everyone on campus saying that they condemned that, and it was shut down immediately, and the Jewish people on campus were like, thank you so much. And then a few weeks later, there was a bunch of pro-Palestinian chalking on campus, because chalking has been huge, because with suppression of open expression, which if any of you are going to private schools, that is a big thing, open expression, because they are allowed to limit your free speech. So people will write things on chalk. So I guess there was a bunch of pro-Palestinian chalkings, and students erased it and said, like, pro-Israel stuff, and they got and it was kind of the same thing, like, you're not allowed to erase chalkings, and, like, I think the student government and in general, they're trying to be neutral on it, and I feel like at Emory and probably at a lot of schools, they're just trying to figure out where they stand, because they want to support both sides. So it's a bit of a confusing time, but
Thank you. All right.
I just talked
We'll pass it off to Helena.
So I feel like last year, after October 7th happened, people were initially sympathetic toward Israel, but I feel like that kind of lasted for only like 5 minutes, and then very soon people started to protest, and so they would like protest on the quad. There was also chalking happening, and last year someone posted threats on a website. I think it was like some Greek life website, but it was all these just threatening and disgusting things about Jews. And so I'd kind of been able to ignore the protests for the most part. They weren't really happening in areas of campus that I went to, but I did see the threats, and that made me very upset. That's where I felt hurt personally. And so around that time, I did have a couple of friends express concern for me because they knew that I was Jewish, and you know, it was nice for them to reach out to me and just say like, hey, I'm thinking of you, you know, since the threats came out. And one of my best friends, she told me that I shouldn't walk back to my apartment at night. Like, she was concerned for my safety, honestly, even more than I was. And so I was like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. And so I was working in the lab at the time, which sometimes, you know, would run late. And I just kind of changed my schedule about it, and I let my mentor know, and he was, you know, very understanding, fortunately. He didn't fully understand the overall situation of Israel and Palestine, but he had respect for my position and feelings throughout that climate. And so I'm personally not very open about my views on Israel. I do feel comfortable practicing as a Jew in general and talking about how I'm Jewish, but I do not talk about Israel with most of the people I meet, except for a couple of very close friends. And then also during the spring semester, there was an encampment, which fortunately I was able to avoid when I walked to class. But I know other people who couldn't avoid it, and, you know, they were protesting, screaming. Sometimes I could hear that, and they were saying things like globalize the Intifada, and from the river to the sea. And, you know, those were very disturbing things. But Cornell did release a statement condemning those phrases. They're like, hey, you can protest and express your views, but you can't say things like globalize the Intifada, because that is anti-Semitic. And so now it's kind of died down. Like, we do have this organization called the Coalition for Mutual Liberation, and that's like the main organization that pushes the pro-Palestine protests. And I feel like with how they structure their organization, it's very easy to get roped into it, even if you have no opinion on the issue or no connection to it, because they will advocate for other issues, specifically concerning Indigenous people. So you might think like, oh yeah, I am passionate about, you know, Indigenous rights, and then easily just get sucked into, you know, advocating for Palestine and really like not knowing what you're talking about. And so this semester they did interrupt a career fair of the like the defense contract companies, and they went in and they basically shut it down. They were like screaming, banging pots and pans, like stuff like that, and some people got arrested, but I don't think like the like crime like really held up in court. But so we had our president resign, and we have an interim president. I think he's kind of been taking more action against the pro-Palestine protests, because there hasn't been as much going on. They did do a study in, as well, where they were just silently studying in the library, and they just had like signs, you know, with their message. So it's been difficult to navigate, but I've just kind of focused on myself. And for me, that means staying silent, stepping back a bit, because I don't want to deal with the conflict that can happen. However, like the Hillel has support for that, and I know if I feel like I really need to talk about my views on Israel, there are people that I can seek out. And so I think you're very brave for discussing, you know, being a Zionist, because at my school it's a bit of a hostile environment. I even have a friend who's not Jewish, and said that someone just randomly asked her if she was Jewish. So there was definitely some hostility in the air this past spring. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fortunately, I would say that at Duke, there's really not that much anti-Semitism. This past fall, I've encountered very little to zero anti-Semitic incidents. The school itself is actually pretty Jewish. 10% of my grade is Jewish, which is a lot. In terms of, you know, most of my friends are not, a majority of my friends, I would say, are not Jewish, and I feel completely comfortable discussing, you know, aspects of Judaism with them. You know, I tell them I'm going to go to services for Rosh Hashanah, and they're curious about it from like a endearing, like genuinely interested kind of way, which is great. In terms of pro-Hamas incidents, on October 7th, there's not much. On October 7th, there was a multi-day demonstration. It was like a peaceful demonstration on one of the quads where it was like a few people, and I think they had a list of names, but not a lot of people gave it much attention. You know, meanwhile, the Jewish community did like a big sort of memorial on October 7th, which I went to, which was really nice. They had a bunch of speakers, a bunch of rabbis come. And then one night I was studying late at the library, and as I was going back to my dorm, there was like a march of some kind, or not really a march, but like, I don't know, it was a bunch of, I guess it was a protest, but they weren't being that disruptive. It was maybe 50 students, and they were kind of chanting, and I just went to the bus and went back to my dorm, and then I never saw anything like that again, which is very fortunate.
Thank you. So would you say, it sounds like overall there is pro-Palestinian protests, but not overtly pro-Hamas? I don't know if anyone touched on it specifically. You know, obviously there's a lot of conflation that happens there, but it's okay. All right, thank you. So Ethan, we're actually going to start with question number 2 with you. That question is, are you connected with Hillel or Chabad or any other Jewish groups on campus? Helene, I know you touched upon that a little bit. And if you've been involved, how have you been involved? Tell us, you know, what your Hillel or your Chabad or any of the Jewish groups have done.
Yeah, sure. I'm definitely involved, a lot more involved with Hillel rather than Chabad, although both of them are pretty active on campus. They both, you know, host Shabbat services and dinners every Friday. They have stuff for all the major holidays. They do other special events too, like the Chabad recently did this Jewish speed dating thing towards the end of the semester, which was pretty successful, actually. There's a big turnout for that. In terms of what I do, go to Shabbat. I would say the Chabad Shabbat is more popular. There's a lot of people that go. Definitely, probably like 200 people go. And non-Jews go to both the Chabad and Hillel Shabbats also. So yeah, I go to the Chabad Shabbats and the Hillel ones. I went to services there for Rosh Hashanah, and then I also and also Sukkot actually, and I also did this sort of seminar class thing this past semester called JLF, which was myself and like 15 other students, and we basically kind of just talked about Judaism and living life as a Jew once a week with the rabbi. That was through Hillel.
So we also have Hillel and Chabad on campus. I've mainly been involved with Hillel. I take advantage of the services that they hold on the Jewish holidays. So I've been to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and also Passover. They hold a big Seder, or well, it's like multiple mini Seders that people can host. So if I'm not home for Passover this spring, then I think I'm actually, I would like to host a Seder. It would be cool. That's kind of my main involvement. Hillel does hold a lot of other events, and they hold events like during the orientation week as well to introduce people to the organization. And so I actually transferred to Cornell from County College of Morris, and one of the first events I did during orientation week was like this boat ride that they hosted for the sophomores. So there is a really strong Jewish community at Cornell, despite, you know, everything that has been going on. And yeah, I'll probably try to take advantage of some of the senior events that Hillel hosts this upcoming semester.
So it sounds like both your involvements in Hillel or Chabad, it's really been a way of just getting entrenched in the overall community on campus, feeling a sense of inclusivity and feeling welcome and feeling more at ease in a new place.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really good starting point, and I know a lot of people there who have like little friend groups from Hillel. So yeah.
Great. All right. Yes, please.
Yeah.
All right, Kate.
So fun little fact, the Emory Chabad Mama is from Morristown. I learned that when I got there. It's like, oh, hello. But no, it's fun. I have like a little group chat, and we go every Friday night, get Shabbat dinner, catch up on the week, like get some home-cooked food. It's wonderful. It's delicious. And that's always nice. I feel like I'm pretty active in both. I think it's fun because Hillel has a lot of programs like falafel making, or like they had like a river rafting thing once. Like they have a lot of just fun activities where you can just go and kind of have that organization or just go and study. But they also have like programs where you can learn about Israel, or they have a Israel fellow and you can practice your Hebrew. So I think depending on if you just want like Jewish community, or if you want to discuss like more Jewish texts, or if you want a place to go for services, like no matter what you're looking for within your Jewish identity or within your Jewish community, there's a place for you, whether that's in Hillel or Chabad. And then I'm also pretty active in a group called Mayor, which is pretty cool. They have like J Biz, which is like business, J Law, J Health, just kind of think of any like career cluster, and that's a way for you to kind of have like that career opportunity, but within
Like a
Judaism.
networking kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of networking. But I did a program called Maimonides, which is really similar to the program that Ethan did, where we met with a rabbi once a week. We kind of talked about Judaism, Jewish identity. We did a Shabbaton in Toco Hills, which is the nearby neighborhood, and I got to meet a bunch of people in like the Jewish community, which was just really impactful because going to a different region of the country, it's nice to like meet those people. So there's something for everyone, which I really loved.
Brandon?
Something about Diller and Chabad that was really nice, especially in my experience. I was like coming into a new state, like out of town, didn't really know anybody from around, like nobody from my school or surrounding schools were going that I knew. And Hillel hosted this like 3-day, 3-night weekend like excursion up in like Hollywood, up in the hills. And it was so nice, like getting to meet so many new people. There were probably like 150 kids that went, and just the amount of connections you make off the bat from that, because you're not even moved into dorms or anything yet. It's just so nice and meeting everybody. So that was one of Hillel's events, and then Chabad, and this was all just like from basis like them reaching out. And Chabad actually did a cruise one night, which is really fun. Chabad is like, they're all about like, oh, it's a mitzvah to party. It's a mitzvah to celebrate. So that's a very big thing for a lot of the students there. So it's like Shabbat, every Shabbat, both Hillel and Chabad, you can choose or go to Hillel and then go to Chabad. Hillel is more of like the family dinner, and then Chabad is kind of like the music, like the celebration afterwards. And then like it's Friday night, you go out if you want after that. But Chabad, I definitely go to Hillel much more than Chabad. Chabad is much more conservative, especially in the way they practice Judaism. But Hillel also really nice. Rabbi reached out to the Rabbi Hudson, and she reached out and wanted to have a coffee, which was really nice. And that was, yeah, my extent.
Jordan?
Yeah, so I'm not super involved in any specific Jewish groups on campus. We have a Hillel, we have a Chabad, we have a Mayor as well. I did their J House for a very short time. I've met with the rabbis. They're really nice. I still go to High Holy Day services and stuff. And Hillel has a public dining hall that is known for having the best food on campus. So I go there a lot. And they're very nice groups. They're very supportive. I know people who are more involved with them than me, and they've all had great experiences with them. I know people who went to Shabbat dinners. The dining hall at Hillel, they always make sure to keep it like kosher. And yeah, I mean, even though I'm not like super involved in the Jewish life at the school, there's still a very good and welcoming community there, if any of you are thinking of going.
All right. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of address these last two questions together. And Brendan, we'll start with you. So thinking kind of overall, this has obviously been a challenging time since October 7th. Some of you have had college experience prior to then, and most of you subsequent of that time. What in general has been most helpful for you as far as how to get through these challenging times, and what has been particularly challenging? So thinking in terms of you personally, what has been helpful, what has been challenging, and then a lot of you already touched upon this. Has it significantly impacted your overall college experience? Yeah. Okay.
I'll answer. I think it's really helpful to find that group of people that you can be open to at the very beginning. Of course, that little 3-day excursion really helped for me. And it just so happened that so many of those kids were in the same dorm and floor as me. But not even just that, just seeing them around campus was it's really nice. USC is a big school, but at the same time, you'll see the same people 1 or 2 times a day, or if not every week. So I think just having those set of people overall, I don't think it's affected me negatively in any way. I think USC, for the almost everywhere, for the most part, is very pro-Israel. Not openly, but just from the sense I get walking around campus, I never feel afraid to share my faith in any way. Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better. It's about the support system. It's about knowing that people have your back. I remember being really nervous because there was a memorial on October 7th, and I know that there was a lot of tension because the SJP on campus wanted to have their own event in the same time, same place, and we kindly were like, hey, could you do it the next day? And they were like, sure, but we thought maybe there'd be protesters, and luckily we kept our peace, they kept their peace. We were able to have a really nice service on October 7th, and then they had their own thing the day after. And I think it kind of shows that, like, in these times, like, people can still come together. And I think what's especially important about that is I was really surprised by how many people went to it. I was hesitant going myself because I was worried that there wouldn't be a lot of people there, or maybe like there'd be agitators or something, or I don't know. But I was like, I'm not gonna not go because I'm scared, because that's never a reason not to do something. And there was just so many people at this event, and it just really reminded me how big the pro-Israel and the Jewish community in general at Emory is. And yeah, it's really the people. And shaping my college experience, I think it just really reminds you of like when you go to college, it's kind of like pretending to be an adult in the world, and it really kind of makes you have these conversations with yourself, like, what do I want to do when I get out of here, and what kind of person do I want to be? And you kind of have to make that step for yourself. Like, you don't just go to Shabbat because your parents are making you go every week. You go because you want to, and you're not signing up for Jewish events and organizations because you have to. You do it because you want to, and you want to like learn more about yourself and do these things. And I think it's just nice, like laying down the groundwork for myself as a Jewish adult. And my mom's smiling right now, but I guess like figuring out what the rest of my Jewish life is going to look like, you know?
So for me, I also think it's good to have that support system. Even though I'm not very open about my views, I do have 1 to 2 people that I can talk to about it. So I think even just having one outlet is important. And, you know, some people will encourage you to speak out. I think you should do whatever you feel comfortable with and whatever makes you feel safe emotionally. So for me, that is staying silent, which I'm not happy with. It's definitely a challenge. But if you feel comfortable speaking out, then I have so much respect. And I think, again, it's very brave. So I think the way you deal with it is just very personal to you. And when I first started at Cornell, none of these like protests were happening. I felt like after October 7th, it kind of happened overnight. And I remember being, you know, mildly curious because I heard about anti-Semitism happening on a lot of Ivy League campuses, and, you know, I was not seeing it until last year. So, but I've still been able to do everything that I've wanted to do in college and achieve my dreams, and I think that's the most important thing. You shouldn't let these things get in the way of what you want to do. You do have control over your college experience.
Yeah, I would say for me, what's been most helpful definitely is knowing the rabbi. My rabbi, Rabbi Friedman, is very nice. And knowing her, meeting her, and doing the seminar with her definitely has helped me feel a lot more entrenched within the Jewish community and just like more kind of solid about, you know, just being on campus in general. I think it's also good, or what's been helpful for me, is just studying or continuing to explore my personal connection with Judaism, just at all. I mean, college is a very distracting place. There's a lot of stuff you have to do and a lot on your mind. And especially if there's a weaker Jewish community on campus, you know, it might become easier to kind of not think about Judaism as much. And I feel like if I weren't involved in that seminar, I probably wouldn't think too much about Judaism. There just aren't a lot of opportunities to do it. So continuing to study Judaism for me definitely has been important.
Yeah, so in regards to like what's been helpful, I think firstly finding like it's always good to find other Jewish people like to talk to, and like because you have like all Jews kind of have some sort of shared experiences. Like I've found people through my fraternity, people through my theater group, um, and also just like I think something that's really like helpful is realizing that like what you see online doesn't really translate to real life. Like I've seen much more extreme takes in like someone's like Instagram story, but like if I've had conversations with people more pro-Israel with me, I've had people who are more pro-Palestine than me, and it's always been like very respectful. I know some people who were involved in like the encampment and the protest movements, and like there's one brother in my frat who's like very who is like involved in like pro-Palestinian activism, but he's also like he also had us organize like a fundraiser for families of like the kidnapped hostages, like and we've been like to add on to that, there's been like a lot of like national news, like, oh, students at Penn are like taking over the college hall, or people are like screaming anti-Semitism at like the students. And I think it like sort of sows like a lot of fear and a lot of worry within the Jewish population. But what I've found has been like people for the most part are very respectful, and there's definitely are cases of anti-Semitism and pro-Hamas protesters and things like that. We have an open campus, so anybody from anywhere can come in. But in terms of people from the actual school itself and within the Penn community itself, I've found it's a lot easier to let yourself like get scared by things you see online or things you hear. And it's good to always recontextualize that and like just like talk to people, make sure you surround yourself with people who are respectful and supportive, and most likely like you'll probably encounter like some bad people, but the more you surround yourself with respectful people, and that you'll stay away from that, and that's always very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. So it sounds like one of the takeaways from that is stay off social media. All right, so we're going to turn it over now to Rabbi Josh, who's going to share his experience as the Reformed Community Educator of the Rutgers Hillel.
Thank you so much. I'm going to begin on a personal note. I've been a rabbi. This is actually my 18th year as a rabbi. The first 17 were spent in congregational life in New York, in California, in Texas, and in Florida. So I sort of made my way around the country and now back to the Northeast, because as I mentioned, I am from Queens originally. And as I was sort of finishing up my congregational experience, I thought to myself that I really wanted to be involved in a different way in building the Jewish community, sort of strengthening the Jewish future. And how was I going to do that? And the answer came to me is that I wanted to work with emerging adults that were going to be the future of the Jewish community, represented actually right here by these 5 wonderful panelists that we've had speak about their experiences. So thank you so much for sharing all those experiences with this community. It does mean a lot. It really is amazing to me. First, I want to ask, because I know we've bandied about some terms, how many people here are actually familiar with what Hillel is, by a show of hands? Well, we got a good group there. Everyone has a little Hillel knowledge. Hillel is the foundation for Jewish life on campus. We're basically a huge Jewish student union. We encourage any and all people who are affiliated with the Jewish community, who consider themselves Jewish, and people who are not Jewish to come and learn more about Judaism, to participate in Jewish life. And it is my blessing to help be a guide, a mentor, a support to these Jewish emerging adults, these future Jewish leaders. Rutgers Hillel, I'm 6 months into this position. It is amazing. Rutgers is actually, I don't know if everyone knows this, the second biggest Jewish campus in America. We are only beat by Florida, very good, University of Florida. A couple other ones are very close. We have 6,400 Jewish undergrads at campus. It's a really cool community, a lot of great Jewish energy and spirit. Hillel's mission is all kinds of Jewish. That's what we want, is all kinds of Jewish. You can be Reform, you can be conservative, you can be Orthodox, you can be Reconstructionist, you can be a JJ, just Jewish, secular, cultural, however you define your Judaism, you have a home at Hillel. And we have a great group of people, rabbis, people who are social workers, educators, people whose job it is, frankly, to get coffee for a living. It's a great gig. We get all the free coffee we want at Hillel. As we get to go take students out and treat them to a cup of coffee. We don't have the budget really for much more than that, so we can't get a Danish with the coffee. But we can give you coffee, but that's it. Especially with the Starbucks prices now, it's a little rough, to be honest. Like $20 for a latte, it's a little bit much. That's another story for another day. So, it's not my dime, it's fine. Okay, so with Hillel work, right, our job is to engage. Our job is to talk to you all about what are your Jewish interests? What are your passions? What do you love about Judaism? What would you like to learn more about Judaism? But we also take a step back in a more holistic way. We want to know about you. We want to know about your lives. What is your major? Sure, but everyone's going to ask you what your major is, right? But really, what is going on for you in your life on campus, and how could we be of help in any way? So we're here to support you not only Jewishly, but we're here to support you in everything. The what of Hillel is fantastic to talk about. We heard a little bit about Shabbat services. At Rutgers Hillel, we have Shabbat dinner every week, 4-course meal, spectacular, totally free. Wonderful. Get a little soup, a little challah, a little salad, meat course, vegetarian course, pastas, whatever you want, and desserts. You don't go away hungry, right? We have a really nice experience together having this great Shabbat meal. But before that, or after it, depending on the time of year when the sun goes down, we have 3 different services that go on concurrently. We have a Reform service, a conservative service, and an Orthodox service. And who leads this service? Not Rabbi Josh. The students lead the service. And I'm there to help out. They'll send me the service order, the service sheet. We have 2 song leaders. This is what we want to sing. This is what we want to read. This is the poems we want to recite. This is maybe the theme of the service. Does that sound good to you, Rabbi? Yeah, great. That's awesome. Fantastic. And they usually have me give the sermon, give a little talk, which I like to do. It's a lot of fun. And we sing, we dance, we tell stories. We have a really great experience. And the same thing happens in the conservative service. Orthodox service, a little less singing perhaps in different ways, but they do their thing, and it's a lot of fun. It's really special because it's that feeling of community. If you go to a school that's out of state, in particular, right, you can't always go home like for Shabbat. Even at Rutgers, we have a lot of students who are in state, but they don't go home for Shabbat. They stay at Hillel for Shabbat because that's where their friends are. That's where their community is. So they'll have Shabbat, they'll have dinner, and then some of them walk to Chabad to have second dinner because it's college and you're hungry and it's free. So all those things really help out. We have learned the way to the student's heart is with free food because campus dining plans get you only so far, and every once in a while, who doesn't want a little free, free meal? So the more food we have, the better it is. All of our offices are stacked with candy and other sort of chazarai, as we say, other kind of junk food for our students. You feed them, they will come. Services, Awesome. Education, we had a young man speak about JLF, so we have Jewish Learning Fellowships. We have education programs for people who want to learn more about Judaism. And sometimes let's have one-off classes as well. So we either have sort of bigger courses, which, by the way, we pay you to come to the courses. You get a stipend for JLF. You get a little bit of money for participating in a 10-week course. So you learn, and you get a little pocket money. What can be bad? And of course, again, we feed you as well. It always comes with dinner or some snacks as you do. We teach about Israel. We teach about Jews and justice. We teach about relationships, history, whatever. And the best thing is, it's the students usually who say, Rabbi, I want to learn about this. I want to learn about that. And let's create a course. Let's create something together where we can learn and we can study. I literally have now a weekly meeting with an Israeli who grew up secular in Israel, knows nothing about Judaism at all. And so he meets with me every week and we talk about the Torah. We're literally just like going through Bible stories like you maybe did in 3rd grade, 4th grade, sort of here. And that's just a Tuesday for me. I get to just talk with this young man for an hour about the Torah. Great. I fit it right into my schedule. Education, services, social action, right? We want to make the world a better place. Right? And so we have programs where we go out in the community. We go out to pantries. We go out to, to shelters. We go out to do cleanups, right? To help, make our environment a better place. We have drives, and these are all, again, student-run, student-initiated, right? It's about what they're passionate about. And sometimes just social. We have Hillel Hangs. We come and we do karaoke together. We do painting, drawing, writing, whatever we want to do. We have theater groups. We have other sort of affinity groups, LGBTQ, Jewish community group, Israel groups. Israel, of course, very big on campus, as we've heard. We have a lot of Israel programs as well, cultural programs that are about more of the history, of Israel. The Z word, Zionism, right? So we talk about what Zionism is and what it isn't. And we have good conversations with our emerging adults on that as well. There's so much to do with Hillel, but at the end of the day, it's all about community. It's all about people coming together as Jews to experience Jewish life together and to explore what Judaism means to them. And how can we, as a staff, as rabbis, as different engagers and educators, how can we help you along your Jewish journey? We had a student in the very beginning of the year. It was a sad story. She lost her mom, in the beginning of the year, and it was very hard. Obviously, she went back home for a few days, and when she came back, she was embraced by the Hillel community. Right? We worked with her. We spoke to her. We consoled her. We sort of tried to create a community around her to support her during this time. And that's a really important thing that we can do at Hillel, really in any community, is to be there for each other. I have another student who never had their bar mitzvah, their b'nai mitzvah. And so now I'm working with them on a bar mitzvah ceremony that we're going to do at Hillel at the end of March together. And so they're learning Hebrew, they're learning the Torah portion, and they're studying with me every week. And now we're going to have this big, and when we announced that this was happening, the whole Hillel, Reform, Conservative, Orthodox staff, all so pumped. How can we help? How can we be part of this? How can we be part of this experience? Because even though they might have a different perspective of what Judaism is, they want to be there to be part of the experience, to help and to support this person on their Jewish journey. Simchat Torah. Who loves Simchat Torah, when we sort of dance with the Torahs, and we have, do we do candy apples here? Or is that too old school? In the past, it's one of those traditions that, we got to bring back candy apples, is all I'm saying. So we had a fantastic event, and it was an example of pluralism, right? We had the Reform community, Conservative community, sing and dance together. The Orthodox community themselves sang and danced together. And then we all came together to create this wonderful, pluralistic experience where we were singing and dancing as one whole community together. And of course, Israel, right? We need to build that community because of how Israel how things are unfolding, I guess I'll say, in the world right now. There's a lot, as we heard. I don't want to repeat, what other people have said, but we know there's a lot of service, a lot of struggle, a lot of tension around Israel-Palestine right now, and what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Israel, and it's really tough for students. And we have students who are being made to feel unsafe or getting into arguments and fights, and it's really hard. And so thank God they have a community. They have a Hillel to come back to. And they can talk to us, they can talk to their friends, but they have a place to go with these emotions. They have a place to go with these big feelings about Israel and to try to learn more and also just to be consoled. We've had students who have had a lot of serious things happen to them on Hillel and a lot of different, at Rutgers, and they've had a lot of different reactions. And who can they go to if not the rest of the Jewish community? So to have a beautiful, safe space that's welcoming, that's inclusive, to have them come in and say, this is what we're going through. And sometimes we can just listen, which is very big, to be honest. Listening is really important. Be there as a sounding board, right? We can be a shoulder to cry on. We can be, someone who can encourage and to help. There's so many ways, but we need to be there for each other. Right? We need to be there as part of one community, no matter what our level of observance is, no matter how connected we feel to different maybe Jewish issues, we're all part of one big Jewish family. And that, to me, is the heart of Hillel, and why it's so important for us to be involved in Hillel so we can be part of that community and be held, be uplifted by our Jewish community.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm ready to go to Rutgers again, not again, but go back to college just to join Hillel. All right, we have about a minute left. Any burning, pressing questions that you'd like to ask any of the panelists? It's a lot. Emerson? The question was, did any of the Hillel or Chabad programs affect your college choice application decisions?
Whenever I visited a college, I would go to their Hillel and speak to the rabbis there, just to get a sense of what Jewish life was like on campus. It wasn't a huge part of my decision, mostly because every Hillel I spoke to was great. Yeah, definitely before making a decision, it's always good to do some preliminary research. There's certainly some schools that have reputations as being maybe slightly anti-Semitic or very anti-Semitic, and maybe avoid those schools or at least be cautious when applying there. But it's always good to do research, talk to the rabbis, and often you'll find they're always willing to meet with you, always willing to talk up their school and the Jewish experience.
All right, we have no seconds left, but just a quick, yes, it affected you, kind of didn't make a difference, no, it didn't affect you at all,
No.
and maybe a quick word.
Be
honest.
It was just more my major, so.
All of the schools I applied to, except for one, were very Jewish. Therefore, they all had Hillels and Chabads. So technically no, but also very much yes. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I kind of just thought Hillel was widespread enough to be at nearly every school.
Yeah, I would also say no for me.
No, it's good to, again, thank you for sharing. Again, everyone, panelists, awesome. Panelists, thank you so much for your candor. Rabbi Josh, thank you so much for selling us on Hillel and giving that. And thank you, Nicole, for organizing. Thank you, Rabbi Satz. And thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful evening.